A new fusion free champion you can obtain by doing events and tournaments in Raid Shadow Legends and Pulley on Charts. It's coming right now, and it's not this week, it's gonna be next week. That is on the 24th of November, so you do have some time to prepare. But don't be scared, don't be worried. This will be a Fragment fusion. Also be relaxed, this is just an epic champion. Yes, his name is Hoskarul, is from the Babarian faction, a defensive based spirit affinity epic champion. Epic champions fusions, especially when it's a Fragment fusion, are usually very easy. So that's a good news, because we don't have to suffer, begin to save all our resources. We can still play the game normally and still obtain this champion. In this video, I want to take a look at his skills, first impressions, to just understand what this champion is going to do for your teams and find out if he's even worth going for, especially for my main account and the Noob to Pro, to see how an endgame player will use him and how, if he's going to be useful at all, or how the Noob to Pro, a beginner account, will use him. Alright, that's the intro. Hoskarul, I can already remember a lot of champions are already in the Babarian faction, especially good epics, so hopefully he's better than or almost good as they are. Let's find out. Hermit's Cord Gel, that's the A1 right there, attacks one enemy, has a 30% chance of placing stun debuff for 1 turn. 30% chance booked up to a 40% chance of placing stun is a good thing. It will happen most of the time, especially when you have that mastery that allows him add extra 5% chance to that stun on the A1. A1 stun is a good thing. I cannot mock that one at all. On an epic, it's great. Now legendaries might have it at 55 or so, but he has it at a 45% chance when you add the masteries. That's a good A1. Check. Sustained beating. That's a nice skill. That's a way of putting it, I guess. It's on a 4-turn cooldown, but when booked, it will be on a 3-turn cooldown. We love to see skills on a 3-turn cooldown. Let's find out what it does. It's an AoE skill right there. Attacks all enemies. Nice. Has a 50% chance of placing stun debuff for 1 turn. Okay. Now you got me there now. You got me there. Don't worry. That 50% chance can be increased when you book this champion to a 75% chance of placing stun debuff. That's a good stun. On an epic, now legendaries might have it. Even Seal the Drake doesn't have a 100% stun on an A1. Legendaries might have their 100% stun, like Astrolon has that AoE 100% stun for 1 turn, but he has this on a 75% chance to stun, especially when you add the masteries. It makes it up to a 80% chance of stunning. That's a good A2. I mean, yes, that's a good A2, but that's not all. It decreases the turn meter of all enemies under stun debuff by 15%. Damn. That's a good champion for early game players who don't have, you don't have the provoke champions, you don't have the Vogos, you don't yet have a Seal the Drake, you don't have anybody to help you control the waves, right? They just do heavy damage on you. This skill can come in here and maybe stun 3 out of 5 enemies, sometimes even 4 out of 5 enemies. It's going to be useful in the Doom Tower, it's going to be useful in early game dungeons. So whoever pulls this champion in the early game, awesome. Now for my main account, I might not appreciate this. I want 100% stun. I don't want some people to be stunned and some people not to be stunned. I want 100% stun. And Astrolon can do that. Even my Seal the Drake on a stun set can even do better than this, I guess. So, but I'm saying this A2 is extremely useful. Stun is the best way to keep your enemies from doing so much damage to you in wave content. But this 75% chance booked to 80% chance on PvP content, you might not find it very useful. But when it does proc, you'll be very glad it does. On the right enemies, of course. You'll need accuracy, of course, for this skill to land. So let's head over to the A3 to find out if it's going to even be better. Already, I'm happy with this champion. Already is okay. Just stun, 75% stun on an epic is okay. Alright, on the A3, let's see, that's a 6-turn cooldown skill booked down to a 4-turn cooldown when you put books on him. Removes all stun debuffs from all allies. Disappointed already. I'm already disappointed. It doesn't say remove all debuffs. It said only stun. That's the only debuff he can receive. He can remove from all allies. He then places 60% increased defense buff and a 25% increased resistance buff on all allies for 2 turns. I'm trying to think clan boss material, but no. Once I saw increased defense, I'm like happy about it. So does that mean if he does not remove stun debuffs, he won't place this increased defense and increased resistance? I think he will still be able to use this skill whether there is stun on the allies or not. So I think this will be used just as a skill that has increased defense and increased resistance. I don't think we care that much about removing stun on all allies. But where this might be useful for, especially for PvP content against enemies that are going to stun you, who brings stun into the PvP. I'm trying to think of. I know Kaima is the sleep. Who does stun in PvP? A lot of people do not bring stun. They bring provoke and sleep and cleanse and all that. So I don't think this is a PvP skill. I'm trying to think of where this can be extremely useful, where you have people stunning you all the time. I don't see it. So I guess this is very useful because it's the fact that this champion is immune to stun debuffs. Does that make him viable for the clan boss? Suddenly make him the stun target, so the clan boss cannot stun him, and it brings increased defense, which is one of the buffs you need in the clan boss. And he's defense-based champion also. A lot of things are looking good for this champion for clan boss, at least for the early game, before you begin to make a team for Ultra Nightmare or Nightmare. He becomes to look very useful for that purpose. Of course, you have to make him very targetable, especially against affinity clan bosses. Alright, increases the damage inflicted by all allies by 15% when attacking enemies under stun debuff. I don't see that being used either. You go in there, you stun them with this champion, and it's not 100% stun, right? So I don't see it happening. There's use case for this. If you're new to raid, a month, 2, even up to 6 months, even up to 1 year, this champion will feature well in your PvP content, in your PvE content. He will be awesome. But if you're end game already, you have Seal the Drake, you have your Arbiter, you have all those other bigger champions who do better. He will be occupying a lot of space on your team and not doing a lot. That cleanse right there for the stun does not bring a heal. It only brings increased defense, right? So I'm trying to think of what other utility I can use it for in my team besides increased defense. And I don't see it happening. 75% stun, like I said, is good for early game, but for end game content, it is not something we need at all. So this will be useful for newer players coming into the raid right now who appreciate this debuff stun, who don't have any way of controlling the waves, who are dying to level 20 content. He will just come there and make it possible. I'm thinking about the noob to pro because we're still struggling on that account. We don't yet have a good CC for the waves. We just go in there and die and revive with Rector Drought until we make it to the boss. He comes in there and makes sure we don't keep dying. With him on the team, I don't think maybe I will not even bring a reviver. I'll put what's her name, Rector Drought to the side and have him stunning the waves and then apothecary healing. So he brings a lot to a team, but he will be easily replaced. I'll suggest you run this champion at level 50 if you don't intend to use him against dungeon. If you don't intend to use him against clan boss. So use him at level 50, especially for faction wars where it will be extremely useful for that faction. Stun is the best way to control them in faction wars. So with him in the team, I think you'll be okay going through that Babarian faction, which is already easy with War Maiden and a lot of champions on that faction that made it extremely easy as one of the factions people complete easily. So that's what I think about this one. For the increased resistance, 25%, it's not still a buff that is that valuable in raid. It's still a buff that is still coming up, but it's going to be useful some way, somehow, if you already have half resistance built, and it can come in there and make you take less, maybe get less debuffs, I guess, especially from those Doom Tower bosses. So for early game content also, normal Doom Tower normal. I don't see him being featured in Doom Tower hard. But if he's your only champion, only way of doing CC to the waves, there you go. But I think that everybody will rather have Seal the Drake on their team than this dude occupying that place of a stunner. Alright guys, that's my first impressions of this champion. Increased defense in faction crypt. Again, they are making him a faction crypt specialist. It's not a bad champion, it's a good champion for early game. Let me know what you think about this champion, my initial review, my initial take. We'll wait to see him in content, test him out, see if he's actually good to do damage, or he will just be a tank that stays alive and just keeps stunning. That AoE on that A2, I hope he hits hard and not just stuns and doesn't really do any damage, because we need to put some crit or crit damage into this champion, because he'll also be built with accuracy and not resistance. Alright guys, we hope to see this champion during the test when he's released into the game, maybe a day or two before the fusion actually launches. Remember, it's going to be on the 24th of November. That is a Thursday, next week Thursday, and it's going to be a fragment fusion, which means you're going to collect fragments, not an old school fusion. It's going to be extremely or much easier than these old school fusions. Let me know in the comments what you think about this new champion, Hoskarul, coming into raid as an epic champion before we have an actual December fusion. I guess this is just to keep us busy before the Xmas fusion comes along. So that's always how it has been. Even last year we had an epic around this time before the main fusion for December comes up. So we'll use this one to pass the time for now, for the month of November, as it grinds to an end, and then in December we'll see what huge champion that will be featured in that final December fusion. I'm looking forward to that one. Still pull your shards. I'll still be pulling my shards tomorrow, so make sure you watch that ancient 2x ancient shard pull video when I get it done. On the Noob to Pro, I'll still pull my shard despite a fusion coming along. This will be an easy one. I don't think the champion chase or summon rush will be so difficult that I cannot complete it with void or few sacred shards that I have. All right, let me know if you're going for this one or not, but I can already tell you the Noob to Pro will go for this one. My main account will go for this one because it's easy to obtain. See you guys in the next one. Later, guys.